What is up, guys? Robin Leijon back here again with another video. And today we're taking a look at some drum editing within Reaper. Okay, so what I got here is a song called Lumos with some drums that has not been edited. It's straight from tracking. It's been consolidating. It has kick, snare, rack tom, floor tom, hi-hat, ride, overheads, Blum lane, room, and a stairwell monoroom, and it sounds like this. As you can hear, it's not a bad performance, but it needs some tightening up to do. And first off, I will start by selecting all the shells, and I will normalize them so I have a nice amount of signal. So it will be easier for a dynamic split to pick up the transients. And what I will do now is create 2 more tracks. I will copy the kick and snare. Then I will pan the kick to the left side, snare to right side, select and print these as a stereo stem. I will go over like some custom scripts in a later video, but what this script does is taking 2 mono channels and merge them into 1 stereo channel. So here we have our kick and snare bass map that we will make the cuts for. So we will start with grouping these. Also, I will mute the rooms. I will pan the overheads, mute the ride and hat, and snare bottom, because I don't want to hear every channel when I'm editing. So when I have all of these groups, I will use dynamic split. Then I press this map we have and press D as I have dynamic splits sent to. These settings is what I use all the time. I don't think I've messed around with them a lot. It's just been working for me. So these are the settings that I'm using. So this like decides how much you want, how many cuts you want. So we're taking that at max and press split. So I'm now deleting this one because we don't need it anymore. And we have a nice sliced up track of drums. Yeah. Okay. So to this part, since you can see here, it's less amount of hits compared to this part. So we might have to change the grid settings, but I think 8 notes will work fine here. And what I do, I know in Pro Tools, a lot of people just quantize the full track at once. I'm not sure how things work in Cubase or like Studio One, for example, but in Reaper, I love to do section by section. So I begin with like 4 bars. I select all of these, and then I press Quantize. And Quantize I have to my Q key. So as you can hear, it's on the grid, and you can see when I go back and forth, there's not like, it's not doing a lot because it's very tight still. It's a very good recording, but as I said before, it just needs some tightening up to do. So we'll just be going over section by section, making sure things are moving properly. Okay, so now we come to a part with a fill. As you see, the grid, it won't work with this grid setting. So we'll raise it to 16 notes. And there we go. And all these spaces between notes, we will be filling those up when we've gone through the whole song. So now we change back to 8 notes again and go through. Okay, so when doing this, we don't make any cuts at the toms, because when I edit, I like to keep toms pretty, like, as you can see here, they are pretty on the, oh, here we have cuts on the toms, and we might need to touch them up a bit because they never seem to be sliced at the transient. Okay, where were we now? Over here. Okay, so here we can see that we need to make individual cuts, or one cut, because that one was close to the beat, to the grid. But sometimes I like to keep fills a little bit loose to give them a more, like, more flow feel or artistic feel by the drummer. Sometimes they have a little bit of a loose feel and it still sounds tight. But if it's a feel that sounds really not consistent or very, very untight, then of course edit to the grid. So what I did here was changing to triplets. Okay, as you see, I get some crossfades, and I don't like getting that when editing. So I just press this one, auto crossfade disabled. Okay, so now we have quantized the whole track. Now we're going to fill the gaps. So we're selecting everything. Shift Q, I've set fill gaps between selected items to, and I just press OK. As you can see now, we have filled gaps. What I will do now is go through the song, just listen to it, check so there's not any cymbal hits that's not aligned, and if there's any tom hits that has their transient cut off, because since you're not basing this cutting to any of the tom hits, you have to do them manually, or if it's catched up in any of the kick or snare mic, you have to do these manually. And when it's picked up by the kick and snare mic, the transient is never as precise as the kick and snare one. Okay, so as you can hear here, you get like a small glitch sound. It's because you have this. It's the beginning of the hi-hat in the overheads. So just slide that to the left and it's gone. And these you can kind of just ungroup the kick, slide the snare, take just to get some of that kick out in the overheads and other mics. Now we have the full song edited. Now we're just going to glue this together or consolidating, and we have everything printed.